Welcome to the Real Board Loft. I'm Trip Foreman, and this is the Stretch Super Buzz Kitesurf. Great story to tell about this board. I got my first Stretch Super Buzz surfboard a little over a year ago and rode it for all through the spring, all through the summer, just as a standard surfboard, normal paddle surfing it, and was having a great time on that board in small to medium waves. Incredibly maneuverable, incredibly fast down the line, a lot of lift under the tail, and just the ability to just have a ton of fun in average conditions, surfing a really small, fun board. I got stuck in a situation where it was the only board in my car and the wind came up and it was like, hey, let's pump up and go kiting. So I put my kite on the board and went out, and that was the eye-opener from that point on with this board. Again, incredibly good surfboard, but unbelievable kite surfboard, especially for lighter winds or softer wave conditions, onshore conditions, or the ability where you need the ability to go fast and get upwind in surf where there's a lot of current going down the beach. Looking at the design of why this board works so well for kiting, and also specifically for lighter conditions or underpowered kind of soft conditions that non-pros that have normal jobs have to kite surf in all the time. This board, it starts out with what's called a bullet nose shape, and then goes into a very parallel outline through a long length of the board, and then finishes off with a wide squash tail with a real wide tail block. And so looking at the overall shape of the board and also the flatter rocker of the board, it's got a really parallel outline, flatter rocker, and a wide tail. All of those things create a board that gets on a plane really fast, gets planing really fast, goes upwind really fast, and doesn't hobby horse on the outline of the board or the rocker of the board. Like when you're kind of going upwind, it's like bong, 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 or bong, bong, bong. So this board, you could get it on the rail and just go upwind at an incredible high rate of speed. So this board, compared to a normal kite surf board, is going to plane quicker. It's going to go upwind significantly faster, and it's going to have a lot more power underneath your foot. So just as a kite pulls on you, the board pushes on you underneath your feet to get you planing. And this board gets to that planing speed, and then also the ability to go upwind a lot faster than a normal shape board. Again, because of that parallel outline, a little bit more area right here, and then also that wider tail block underneath your feet right here. So in making that switch, or finding out, actually not even making the switch because I still do surf my own Super Buzz, but in using it as a kite surf board, I found that even as one of the larger surf kiters on the beach, I still could be the very first person out on the water. I could be the first person going upwind, the first person that was able to take as many waves as I wanted downwind and still go back upwind. And then also in all of those kind of average conditions where a pointy-nosed board just sort of seemed out of place. It worked, but it was just sort of like, hey, I know there's got to be something better than this. This board really worked exceptionally well in those conditions. It just made a ton of fun and a really good day out of just average kind of junky breeze, junky surf conditions, whether it be side shore or onshore or straight onshore. Something where board speed made everything more fun. Like this board ends up being a blast to surf. A lot of people ask, why get this board? How does this make my quiver better? Just like in surfing went through a transition of where everybody only had narrow nose boards to where people then had something with a fuller nose, whether it be a fish or a groveler type board, to make the most of those smaller waves and those soft conditions. Kite surfing with this board is going through that right now. If you look at what's available on the market, there are a plethora of good choices of good boards that are narrow nose, but as soon as you get into the wider stuff, it becomes very recreational based, just very easy but not very performance oriented, or at least not to the level that the high performance boards are with the narrow noses. Those boards work really good in really good waves, but if you were to be riding like Nahant up in Massachusetts, or out on the end of the Cape in Cape Cod, or Second Beach in Rhode Island, all these places have like softer waves, softer wind, and the ability to go fast and get upwind is paramount, and makes the most out of that session, because then you could ride all the waves back downwind. That's where a board like this really plays in, and there's really nothing else on the market that surfs waves and goes upwind to the level that this board does, that's available now. So that's a great reason to look at it, because a lot of people are in normal conditions. They're not living in Hawaii or living at Waddell Creek, California, or in Cape Hatteras, where we get good tubing waves. They're in, most of the time it's in like breaking Great Lakes surf, or breaking kind of like softer beach breaks, and this board is going to excel in those conditions. The next question that a lot of people ask us is why the price? Like, how do I justify the price? They are a little bit more expensive for a board like this, construction-wise, because there's a lot more steps that go in this board, and also the materials are more expensive. It's all handmade in the USA. Starts out with a Marco Foam 2-pound EPS blank. It's all resin research, ultra clear epoxy resin. It's all S-glass top and bottom. And then they laminate and vacuum bag a layer of cork on the deck. And what that does is it dampens all the vibration that's trying to come through the board, and then also soften up the ride underfoot. And as well, cork is actually structurally very strong, like when you're trying to compress it. And so it reinforces the deck, and it also allows that cork layer to be wrapped around the rails to reinforce the rails. Beyond that, there are foot strap inserts in the board as well. And so this board you can ride strapless or strapped. All of my surfing Super Buzzes are strapless, but for people that want to use this board and have the option to add straps, they can do that. The other thing on this board is that the cork is underneath the layer of fiberglass on the deck. So there's different cork constructions, some of them having, like what Stretch does is he puts it all underneath the fiberglass. So on this board you get the vibration absorption, and you get the addition and structural integrity to the board, but you don't get the traction from the cork because it's underneath the fiberglass. So you are going to be using either a deck pad or wax, whereas on something like a Lost C3, which this board you would want to use for kite surfing because you would snap it in about a day, because it's built just for surfing, not for kite surfing, is this board has the cork exposed. So a little bit different construction, both using cork, but both absorbing the vibration that a normal board would not. And so the vibration isn't that big of a deal. Your board is bouncing, and your board's basically trying to bounce you off of it. So with the cork in there, it absorbs a lot of that vibration and stops you from getting bounced all over the place. Also smooths out the ride. It's very similar to walking across like a hardwood floor barefoot, or a concrete driveway barefoot, and walking across it with a nice set of sandals. It's basically about the same feeling. Makes it everything a lot smoother. So the Stretch Super Buzz Kite Surf, great board for average conditions. Very, very quick to plane, very incredibly quick to go upwind, and great board, both strapless and strapped. Add it to your quiver, and it's going to make an average day epic. Definitely a board you want to check out. Any questions, you can give us a call at Reel, or you can check it out on our website, realwatersports.com.